And so the part where it's the red that we're standing on right now is closer to about 340 million years old. And so this is way before the time of the dinosaurs. And the environment would have looked something like the swamps of Florida. And so it's kind of like swampy environment next to the ocean. The animals that were around, like we don't see too many fossils from that time period, but if we were to see fossils, we would see ferns. And then also we see like dragonfly wingspans that were much larger than they are today. So we find like fossil imprints that are like 1 foot long of the dragonflies. And then we would see like the teeth from the ancient reptiles. They're like the great grandparents in some ways of the dinosaurs from these little like cat-like reptiles that were walking around. So much different environment, and Arizona was located in a much different orientation. So like for where Arizona is today, we were rotated. The whole continent was rotated, and we were closer to the equator. So it created this much different environment. And what's interesting is like the rocks that we're seeing around, like over at our friend courthouse there, if you all see, so it's like within the red rock, right? You see those gray layers of rocks too. So that tells us times when Sedona was underneath the ocean, and then times when the oceans moved in, oceans moved out, like 13 something different times over like thousands of years of what it took to create that space. And so when the oceans had finally moved out, Sedona became kind of like beachfront property here. And I like this one right behind us here, where you can kind of see in that white rock, do you see like a diagonal angle within the rock? So that actually tells us the direction the wind was blowing about 270 million years ago. So at the angle, if the angle, like the tip of it is at the right, it tells us that the direction of the wind was coming from the right, like piling the sand one on top of another. Almost like what we're looking at is essentially like the cross section of a sand dune. And this would have looked something like beachfront property next to the ocean, and like not a lot of life on land. Most of the life at the time was in the ocean. And a lot of that was like, it would have looked like the Caribbean, like so much life and like so much like vibrancy and color and like diversity within the species too. So again, much different environment back then. But what it gives us is this foundation today of what we're standing on, where we have this like red rock from the swamps. And then within the red rock, y'all see like some of the shimmery crystals within it too. Or like, here's some like kind of just within the rock right there, all the sparkles. So some of it could be quartz, some of it's silica, kind of a different combination of different minerals and different crystals. And what that gives us is, so if we think about it for like iron, have y'all ever tried any of those like magnetic bracelets on the acupressure points for nausea? Did it help anybody? I'm curious.
I do have a copper right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it help?
I'm still navigating that.
Yeah.
It feels supportive. It's a little bit more of a like a receiving, but it is like kind of energy, but it is, you know, hitting up those.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to tell.
Okay. Totally. Yeah. I've tried some of those like the diabetic socks and shoes where they have like the magnets in the bottom. Have anybody's tried those before? I've noticed that of like increase of energy, increase of blood flow and circulation too. One thing that I find to be interesting is that like within all of this red dirt, if I were to take a couple handfuls of the dirt in my hand, it's only about the size of one pinhead of amount of iron that colors it red. So it's not a lot of iron. Like there's other parts around the globe that have more iron than we do in these rocks here. And so sometimes you'll hear people say, it's like, oh, it's all the iron that gives you so much energy. It's like, oh, okay, there's like a piece to it that's contributing to it, but there's like a big factor of what's going on here. So you have the iron and then the crystals, the quartz crystal. And so we think about like quartz just like in your watch, right? Or in the cell phone, like the communicators of information. So like sending information out or bringing it back in. Same thing within energy healing too. So we all done crystal healing before? Yeah, y'all are crystal healers. You do Reiki too, right? So kind of that same sense of like that pulling, that receiving of the energy, and same thing with the iron or like hematite. What do you use like hematite for? Iron. Very grounding.
Yeah, it's earthy grounding.
And so within those combinations together, it can like amplify and build energy, and then like also help to like expand and bring in more internal energy. But I just like to say that sometimes there's this awareness or this concept in Sedona that's like, oh, I'm coming to Sedona, I'm going to be like filled with more energy. But like we were talking earlier, it can be this like homeostasis of what your body needs within its own internal energy to give your body that. And so sometimes it can be more energy and sometimes it can be like just needing to sleep or